We talk a lot about beginner bikes on this channel, and most of the time we talk about the mainstream options like your Ninja 400s, your R3s, and your Turbo Busas of the world. But today I wanted to turn my eye to some of the alternatives for those of you who want something a little bit different. I mean, who wants to be on just another R3? There have to be some other options out there, right? Well, of course there are, but nobody talks about them. And while some of these bikes you need to buy used, because they don't make them anymore, some of them are still sitting on dealership showrooms right now. I've selected some options for everything from sporty naked bikes to cruisers and dual sports. In fact, pretty much the only style of motorcycle you're not going to see on this list are fully fared sport bikes because we've covered them over and over again. So if you're looking to hop on something just a little bit different from all your friends, then you're going to want to check out one of these motorcycles. But perhaps maybe these aren't just eclectic enough for you and you need some other options and you don't know who to ask. Well, we've got a massive community of over 3,000 riders and soon-to-be riders on our Discord server who can help you select just the right bike for you. We've got channels for buying bikes, fixing bikes, making memes, or track days. There are small bike fetishists, Harley pirates, Gixxer squids, all under one roof, and if you want to join the party, click the link down below and head over to YammieNoob.co and sign up. You'll get instant access to the Discord, our Yamcast live streams, and entries to win any of our giveaway motorcycles. If you're feeling a little antisocial but you still want to win a motorcycle, you can check out YammieNoobMerch.com, and every dollar you spend there is an entry to win one of the motorcycles. Also, if I don't mention the 1 million subscriber Turbo Busa, Yam's going to get mad at me, so we're going to be turboing the Hayabusa at 1 million subscribers and not one sub sooner. If you want to see that video, you got to click the subscribe button down below to make it happen. Now, let's take a look at our first lesser known beginner bike, the Kawasaki W650. If this is your first time hearing about the W650, it's similar to the new W800, which is a modern motorcycle but built more or less the exact same way they were back in the 60s and 70s. This means air cooling, low compression, and while its 676cc parallel twin is bigger than the average beginner bike, it's making a very manageable 50 horsepower and 41 foot-pounds of torque. It doesn't rev out very far, with peak power coming at just 5,000 RPM, which means that you get all 50 ponies a lot faster than something like a Ninja 400. Kawasaki made this bike from 1999 to 2007, and through its 8-year production run, they made a few minor improvements here and there, but it didn't really change in any visible way year over year. Since the bike is designed to look and feel old, it does have 2 carburetors, which is a bit of a bummer. However, if you keep the bike running, you'll be fine. The W650 is basically a Bonneville at heart, but it's made old and reliable. It has a long brat seat, twin analog tack and speedo, and a twin exit exhaust just like a Bonnie, but it's got that dependable build quality of a Japanese motorcycle. It's heavy at 476 pounds, so bear that in mind, but you could push the thing off a cliff and it'll just shrug it off. If you want the modern version of this bike, you can get the W800, which is basically the same thing but with a little bit more power and a bigger engine. W650s can be had for around $4,000, which is plenty of bike for your dollar. Number 2 is for the aspiring Grom squid who wants a small bike but doesn't want to be one of those riders on a Grom or a monkey, the Suzuki Van 200. It's technically a dual sport and it's closer to a full-size bike than the Grom's mini bike stature, but the best part is that it's got an extra 75 cubes. It's a fuel-injected 199cc single putting down 16 horsepower and 11 foot-pounds of torque, which is a little on the low side for those commuters out there, but as an around-town goof-off bike, this is great. I've seen videos of vans billy-goating their way up mountains, sliding down flat track rings, or even carving up corners on a twisty road, albeit a little slowly. The Van is basically a more street-oriented version of the TW200 and more modern at the same time. Similar to the W650, it has an old-school look and feel about it, but unlike the W650, it's not made out of depleted uranium. The Van weighs in at only 282 pounds wet, and you could easily shed another 10 pounds or so if you get rid of that boat anchor of an exhaust and the oversized rear fender. The best part is that you can pick one of these bikes up in great shape with low miles for only $4,000. If you want a motorcycle for goofy, fun times, then this is probably the best option for you. Number 3 is one for the cruiser boys out there, but there's a twist to this one. I couldn't really pick one bike, so I'm going to give you 2 different options. Why? Because if you want a beginner cruiser and you don't want some dad bike looking nerdmobile, you're usually stuck with the Iron 883 or the Bolt. But if you want to have something a little bit different for your first bike, the first one I'd take a look at is the Honda Shadow Phantom. If you squint, you can just see a Dyna-esque looking cruiser, but built with Honda reliability. It's got a liquid-cooled 745cc V-twin putting down 45 horsepower and 48 foot-pounds of torque. You're not going to be leaving your buddies in your dust on this bike, but you'll certainly be able to get it up to highway speeds. It's packing a 5-speed box, but the gears have a very wide or tall ratio, meaning that you have a lot of headroom in the 5th gear for highway cruising. It's a little heavy at 549 pounds, which isn't great for a beginner rider, but it is manageable with its low seat height at 25.8 inches. The other cruiser I wanted to take a look at was the Suzuki M50, an 805cc liquid-cooled V-twin putting down 52 horsepower and 51 foot-pounds of torque with the same shaft drive, low seat height, and 5-speed box as the Shadow Phantom. This one's a little heavier at 593 pounds because Suzuki makes their cruisers out of the same metal from Thor's hammer, but a lot of cruiser boys dig the Suzuki M styling. For this one, pick your poison. Both of these are good bikes that'll ride smoother than any Harley, cost less, and won't have you looking like everybody else on the road. But what if you're a Euro simp in the making? You need to have something exotic, something that shows every other beginner around you that yes, you are in fact better than them. Well, number 4 goes to the Ducati Monster 600, 698, or 696. Basically any monster that starts with a 6. They made a Monster 400 way back in the day in 1993, but those can be tough to find and they're usually carbureted, and I can't think of anything worse than a carbureted Ducati. Cue carb simps down in the comments. For the sake of simplicity, I'm going to assume you want a modern monster, so we'll use the 696, a bike that we actually rode and compared to the SV650. In every way, it's just an Italian SV650. Or is the SV650 a Japanese monster? The 696 uses a 696cc air-cooled Desmodromic V-twin putting down 79 horsepower and 51 foot-pounds of torque. But Spite, isn't that a lot for a beginner? Sort of. You see, the thing about the Ducati air-cooled V-twins is that you can rev them out to get the power, but you don't really want to. They don't feel all that good when you rev them out, and don't get me wrong, it'll do it all day, but there's something about the grumble of an Italian V-twin that you only get out of the low RPMs. So a beginner can manage to ride one of these bikes if they're responsible, and they'll get a great sound out of it. The best part is that 696s can be had for around $5,000 or even less if you know where to look. They're going to be a little bit higher mileage than you might want out of an Italian motorcycle, but just look for one in good shape and make sure it's not going to need Desmos done first thing once you buy it, because that's a cool $1,700 right there. I will give a short honorable mention to the Ducati Scrambler 400. They did make a baby version of the Scramblers. That's a great option out there, but again, you could have a 696, so why not do that? Number 5 goes to the other Japanese beginner V-twin, the Honda NT650 Hawk GT, or the Hawk for short. Made from 1988 to 1992, it's a little older than the other bikes on this list, but it's a Honda, so you know that the thing will just keep running after we're long dead and gone. This one sort of flopped back in the day because Honda pulled a Honda and charged too much for it, so people didn't really want one, but the people who did buy them loved them. You can pick one of these up for as low as $2,500 and as high as $4,000 depending on mileage and condition, but what do you get for your money? Well, you got yourself a 647cc liquid-cooled V-twin putting down 56 horsepower and 43 foot-pounds of torque. It is carbureted, which is a bummer, so you're going to want to look for one that starts right up with limited fuss and bother. In my experience, a carbed bike should start in 1 or 2 cranks if it's cold, so just keep an eye out for that when you go to test ride it. One of the cool things about the Hawk is that it's packing a single-sided swing arm, which looks pretty fancy on a beginner bike, and it's stupid light at just 406 pounds in running order. Most people have them under 400 with slip-on exhausts and other mods on there. You've also got yourself a preload and rebound adjustable rear shock, so you can start dabbling with suspension adjustments if you want to. If you do decide to pick up a Hawk, a few things that you might want to address would be getting new fork seals, fresh brake pads and fluid, and some fresh tires. Most of those maintenance items take a back seat on a bike this old when you're looking to sell it. Number 6 is one for those aspiring long way round types out there. The folks who want a motorcycle that can go around the world or to their local Starbucks, whichever comes first. The BMW F650 GS. You can get one of these bikes for $5,000 all day and have a motorcycle that you could keep for basically your entire life. It's got a 798cc parallel twin putting down 71 horsepower and 55 foot-pounds of torque. As far as ADV bikes go, it's light at only 436 pounds, and the seat height is almost approachable for shorter wannabe Ewan McGregors out there at 31.1 inches. It's got the look and feel of a GS bike, but without BMW's ridiculous price tag or their monstrously huge gas tank and boxer engine. The suspension is a bit budget, and it does come with cast wheels, which aren't great off-road, but look, with enough gumption, you could take any bike anywhere, and it's all down to rider skill. But hey, it's a GS, right? Let's be honest, it's never going off-road. Now, if I was going to do it all over again and start on a different style of bike, I would tell past Spite to just go buy a dual sport. And while I'm lucky enough with my taller inseam that I can hop on just about any dual sport out there, I'm cognizant of the fact that it's intimidating to a lot of people. So I give you the Yamaha XT250, a dual sport that's just as capable as any WR250 or DRZ out there, but with a 31.9-inch seat height. Is it fast? No, not even remotely. It's only putting down 18 horsepower and 14 foot-pounds of torque from its 249cc single, but the reason why I think you should get one of these bikes is because you'll be able to tackle just about anything your little heart desires. Will you be tearing it up at a track with this? No, but you'll be able to crush the kind of single track that GS boys fantasize about on their way to the coffee shop. It's a perfect around-town bike that you can learn to do wheelies on, slides, jumps, all sorts of fun stuff. And when the street gets boring, which it will, you'll be able to experience all the fun of riding around off-road. It's a little bit heavy for a dual sport at just under 300 pounds wet, but it doesn't matter. You'll still be able to do fun dirt boy stuff. Best of all, you can get one of these brand new for $5,199 for a 2021 model. Oh, and if you bin it, because you will bin it, parts will only cost you like a nickel, and the service is so easy that a half-drunk Harley pirate could do it without poking his eye out. Seriously, people, you might think you don't want a slow dual sport, but you're wrong. You really do want one. They're so much more fun than any Ninja 400 or R3 ever can be. Fact, December 5th is Krampusnacht, or Krampus Night, when the half-goat, half-demon of Christmas folklore visits homes to punish naughty children and people who don't like dual sports, armed with a bundle of sticks and a chain to take them back to the underworld. Goodbye.
So my sweet little squid, this video is actually over, but lucky for you, click on this one right here. You can keep watching your sweet Papa Yam, delivering you the motorcycle content you've come to know and love. Don't worry, I'll wait. I'll be here waiting for you. You're gonna click on that video.